All right, you moderate maniacs, here we go. This is actually from a viewer named Tina who sent a comment in saying, "Can you do a video on unexpected expenses in retirement?" Well, here you go, Tina. Thanks for the request. Number one, inflation. Look back in the last couple of years. How's that gone? What does this mean? Why is this unexpected? Well, inflation, you never know what inflation is going to be month to month. Maybe you do. Let's say every 6 months. How's that? Is that better? You don't know. And you know what that does? That reduces your purchasing power, especially if you are on a moderate retirement nest egg like I am, like a lot of the viewers of my channel are. That can drastically reduce your spending power. So what do you do to combat that? There are a couple things. What I have done is I've invested in I-bonds and T-bills, and I'll continue to invest in those because those the dreaded air quotes, inflation-proof some of your cash. The majority of my cash right now is in I-bonds and 6-month T-bills. So going into retirement may not be something you think about, but inflation can really wreck a retirement if you don't keep that in mind, So one good thing I like to do is like when you can go to these online calculators like FI Calc, and you can put in, unexpected things that might come up. You can also put in whether the market's going to do great, not so great, or kind of in the middle. What I like to do when looking at my expenses, finances, put in the worst case scenario. That way you can tell, okay, what's the probability of me making it through retirement on the worst case scenario? One of those worst case scenarios could include high inflation. So think about that before you retire. Another thing that comes up, if you have an adult child that needs help, yeah, you never know when that can happen. Well, some of you might, right? If you have a child that seems to be a little needy than the others, nothing wrong at all with helping them out, right? But those can be unexpected things. A child comes to you one day and says, "You know what? I wrecked my car. I need a new one." How are you going to foresee that? One way people try and combat this is they will have a talk with their children when they retire and say, "We're willing to help you, but we're retired now. We can only do a limited amount of help." Have a talk before you retire with your children for stuff like that coming up. Hopefully, most of you don't have some that are too needy. Number 3, if you become disabled, hopefully none of you ever do. And again, I apologize. I'm still going through this stomach thing, so my voice is worse than normal. It's usually kind of craggy, but worse than normal. If you do become disabled, what about if you have to make repairs to your house to accommodate that? Wheelchair ramps. You might even have to move from some place that has 2 stories to a single-story dwelling, right? These are things that come up that are totally unexpected. Well, okay, you say, all right, I'm getting older. I may become disabled. But not all of us do. If it happens, it happens. But yes, it can be very unexpected. Number 4, losing a spouse. Is it unexpected? Well, yeah, whenever, no matter when it hits, it's unexpected, right? Unless, of course, your spouse has terminal illness or something like that. You can kind of plan for that. So how do you take that into account? Social Security, when you claim Social Security, if you're married and you're the higher earner, plan on taking that higher, later in life. Maybe it's 70 instead of 65, so that when you pass on, your spouse can have higher survivor benefits. Another way to do that is take out life insurance. That's obviously a great thing if you're married and if you have kids. Excuse me. Another way to do that is some pensions have what are called survivor benefits. What that does is it doesn't pay out as much, but it does take into account your spouse when you pass on. So pensions with survivor benefits, there are ways to, kind of alleviate these unexpected things that may come up in retirement. Number 5, I'm sure a lot of you have gone through aging parents that need your help when you're older. What does that mean? It could be assisted care living. It could be you traveling on a regular basis to take care of them. These are all additional expenses that can come up later in life. For most of these, actually all of these, you can kind of prepare for this by creating kind of a buffer in your retirement plan. Okay? Unexpected things come up. Think of it maybe as like a long-term emergency fund, that you put into separately from your normal retirement nest egg, just to have that on hand in case these unexpected things come up. It's always good. You never know. You don't know what's around the corner, right? You just never know. Number 6. For those of you who are already retired, I'm sure you know this very well. Those of you who are considering early retirement, just know that Medicare, the normal Medicare, A and B, they only cover hospital stays and doctor visits. Okay? A lot of things in addition to those. You've got medical, you've got vision, you've got dental. You can purchase this through supplemental insurance, but a lot of you who are younger, and I do have a lot of younger viewers. Thanks for staying with me, guys. I appreciate it. A lot of my viewers are from 30 and up, which is great. But just know, in the back of your mind now, if you're like 43, Medicare A and B only covers certain instances of your medical care. Keep that in mind. Another thing, put aside some additional funds for that. Number 7, taxes. This is a, dare I say, huge part of retirement that could be totally different. Actually, it will be totally different than the taxes you paid during your working life. Okay? If you can keep your taxes pretty low, your earnings pretty low, your taxes don't have to be that high in retirement. I'm keeping mine hopefully below in the low 20,000s each year. Now that's including YouTube income. Before I was getting YouTube income, that was my retirement withdrawals for my 401k. If you could keep it low, your taxes can be low. A lot of people might have a higher lifestyle than that though. The big thing to keep in mind, which a lot of younger people don't, if you're 47 and you think you're going to have a substantial nest egg for retirement, RMDs, required minimum distributions, that happen when you reach the age of 73. If you're not prepared for those, they can really kick you in the butt. Those required distributions may, in some cases, if your nest egg is big enough, push you into a higher tax bracket. So another thing you've got to investigate. This is all about planning, guys. As with almost everything I talk about, it's planning. Plan before you actually get in retirement so you can kind of take care of some of these nebulous things that may come up, okay? Number 8, long-term care. If you purchase this insurance in your 40s and 50s, you can get it a lot cheaper than if you wait till later in life. Who knows? I mean, the majority of people will not need assisted living when they get older, but a large chunk of the population will. So, talk about unexpected expenses, right? When you get later in life, your medical bills go up. If you need assisted living, they can really go up. Number 9, and this is a happy one, grandchildren, right? You want to spoil your grandchildren. Unexpected expenses though, right? Let's say, when you retired, you had your children weren't planning on having kids. Boom, 10 years later, you got a grandchild. Unexpected expenses. How generous do you want to be to them? Do you want to establish some funds for their later schooling? All unexpected, especially if you went into retirement not planning on having grandkids, right? Got to think about it. And the final one I have for you is longevity. I mean, most of these planning situations for retirement take into account a 30-year retirement. Unless you're planning on retiring early, then you have to take in like a 40-year, 45 years sometimes, 35, whatever. But if you plan on retiring around the regular age, what happens if, let's say your family wasn't really one that lived long, but boom, you're the outlier. You're going to live until you're 98, okay? And you planned on a 30-year retirement. Talk about unexpected, right? If you're going to live to be 98 and you ran out of money at 95, yikes. So, yeah, all these things can be planned for. Again, put aside a little slush fund, if you will, for that. It doesn't have to be something you just obsess over, but if you have something on the side, it can't hurt. All right? So there you go, guys. Just remember, plan, plan, plan. And we got this.